So I'll call this meeting to order. This is Alpine Town Council Budget Work Session on May 7th, 2026. It's 2:01 p.m. Madam Clerk, will you do roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Jeremy Larson.
Here.
Andrea Burchard.
Here.
Eric Green.
Here.
Amy Weirda.
Here.
Shay Scafidi.
I think she's going to be arriving late.
Yes. Mayor Green, you have a quorum of the council with Shay Scafidi being expected to arrive late.
Okay, thank you. So the first item we have on our agenda is the annexation agreement for Alpine Lakes. So we want to invite Colby and the rest of his team that's working on it for the owners, and so we could present this. This is something that, I mean, we've been working on this since I've been mayor. We've been working on this. You guys have come in to help the owners, and I think we have it in a form that's finally right there, so everyone should be happy. And we wanted to present it to town council and let them ask questions and just kind of go over the whole deal, because our goal is to get it on the agenda as soon as possible in front of town council and move forward. And so anyways, Jim, do you want to give like a little background?
Well, I mean, the background is for...
Will you turn on your mic, please? Thanks.
I don't want to give the background, but I will.
Oh, you are.
The background is we made a big bad in the agreements with WJW Holdings to give credits for the infrastructure that went out to his development. We were stuck with that agreement. These folks have been good enough to work with us to shave down some of the liabilities under that and get us to a point where we can have something that goes forward, that gets rid of the past harms. We have something that's predictable in the future and helps them so that they can add development to the town that will be an asset to the town and kind of help us with some of our other problems.
Right. So Colby, why don't you turn on your microphone there and then introduce your group to town council?
Sure. Colby Cox, Convergence Management Company, I guess, is who I'm representing today, but I'm representing the Funks, which is Palisades Investments. The Funks, purchased this property from, was it WJW? And I'm not here to throw anybody under the bus either, I guess, but they also thought that what they were purchasing had more tangible value, I guess, than it, may have or does. And so it was really, I think their main motive is that, they want to see the property developed, and, they want to try to recapture, what they paid for these credits, to some extent. And I think more than anything, they want, a more creative development in that place than what would otherwise be, if you followed kind of, if you went kind of the more strict traditional route, I would say, and didn't, apply for annexation with the ability to mix the uses and have some interesting, density. And those things can all come in with whoever, has an application for development, whether it's them or somebody else in the future. But, I think their overall goal is that, this thing's kind of in the backyard of a community they already developed a while ago. It seems like a likely place for development. It was obviously designed for it based on the infrastructure that was put in, and they were sold this based on the idea, honestly, that it was like, this thing's ready to go. You got everything you need, and shame on whomever for not doing it in previous administrations, when they would come in and say, can we do everything that it says we can do here? They were told, yes, essentially you can. And so anyway, things have changed. We've all moved on. Here we are today, and we just want to, we approached this conversation from the very beginning, which is with we don't expect to show up here and say, hey town, we want free sewer. There should be some net dollars that come to the town every time an application comes in for a building permit. And that was, I think, the basis for how this deal was structured. It was like some amount of credit, but also some amount of cash at each transaction, and not that the town would have to wait through 3 or 4 years of units being developed before they'd see the first dollar from the community. Because, we acutely understand the sewer situation in town and some of the issues, and so that doesn't benefit anyone. So that was it. Happy to answer any questions. We have worked on this for quite some time. And if, I'm sure there are nuances in terms of why we arrive at certain conclusions or logic, which I can try to walk us through. Yeah.
And you have Mariah and Matt here as well?
Yes, my apologies.
Yep.
This is my colleague, Mariah Underhill, who is COO of Convergence Communities, Convergence Management Company, and Matt Kim Miller represents the Funks as their counsel in this.
So Jim, Monica, myself, and this team we have been working on this for like 6 months, I guess. And apologies that it's taken as long to get to this point, but I think we're finally there. And Monica, can you just talk purely about credits and value of credits and kind of the change that we made, and now that we've got impact fees, we've kind of changed it, so we are getting something for...
And actually, when Colby was talking, I thought I should have printed out the spreadsheet that we utilized through those discussions. Do you mind if I go grab that?
Go for it, yeah.
Because I think
Yeah.
that lays it out pretty clear.
Yeah, that's a good one to have, because it definitely helps, like, the first agreements to now. So we'll give her a minute to get there. Did you guys all have a chance to read Monica's summary? Or kind of, if you hadn't, did you?
I have not.
Okay, so it's this, if you want to just skim through it real quick.
So there's a couple layers going on here. One, let's kick out the credit situation for a second. One is just looking at this parcel of land and saying, is this an appropriate fit to be annexed into the town? And sort of anecdotally, sure, otherwise we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Right, and there was all this infrastructure that the
Yeah.
town received because the developer put in the infrastructure, and then the credits were supposed to...
Anticipation,
yes.
yeah. So part two then is working out the logistics of
Yeah.
integrating those credits.
Well, and another thing that you should know, because you're the newest member here,
Yeah.
is that the final amendment to their agreement happened at the last town council meeting before I took office.
Okay.
Okay, so the timing, and that's in here as well. And then they tried to annex, and it was seeming positive, and then on third reading, it failed, the annexation.
And what was the tipping point
This.
between
This.
second and...
These
Not-
sewer credits.
Credits.
Yeah, and,
But it was known during first and second reading, and then everybody thought it through?
yeah, I mean, we
Time?
finally,
Okay.
yeah.
Further research was happening throughout the process.
Okay.
I think it was one of those in my opinion, I think it was one of those situations where there was some period of time where the town was like, we don't like this deal, but somebody cut it.
Sure.
And what do we do about that? And then Mr. Sanderson was like, well, there are options for that, and one of those options is to deny the annexation, and then you can fight about it. And I think I'm not putting words, that's not exactly right, but like.
That's why I don't like to explain.
Yeah. But I think at some point the scales tipped in the conversation where it was like, this is bad enough, the way it's written for the town, where it may make sense to fight about it.
Okay.
And my clients were essentially coming about it the same way. It was like, well, maybe we shouldn't, it shouldn't be the way that it is, but if we back off one bit from what it says, then it opens up Pandora's box.
Right.
And do we want to do that? And so then when they got denied annexation, it was like, well, I guess we're opening up Pandora's box. So, let's try to come to so it just was one of those things where I think they were hopeful, we were all hopeful that it wouldn't have gotten to this point, but it was probably necessary. And I think we are now at a place where I think they're happy with this, and it's much better, for the town than it was.
Right.
I think the implementation of impact fees in between the construct of the deal.
Sure, that makes sense. And this question to do with the annexation itself, but more as a curiosity, when you talk about creative uses for the land, what's the 20,000-foot vision?
The 20,000-foot vision is something that is more than just a standard, quarter-acre lot, single-family home, grid system. It's more of a mixed-use, like truly master-planned community is what they want, with a mix of uses, mix of product types, and varying price points, some commercial, some residential.
That's creating its own little sub-community within.
The idea being that it's closer to the highway, and that our hope as both brewery representatives and developers is that there are a couple of projects in this town that kind of set a new standard for what that, so when they brought us in to advise on this, we didn't just advise on the sewer credits. We advised strongly on, within the annexation agreement, creating at least the framework for more creative development when, a master plan is actually submitted. And to be transparent on those conversations, our ability to get them to acquiesce fairly significantly on the credits was based on, hey, but the town's willing to give a little bit more here on the use potential of the property, if you're willing to be a little bit more creative in how that's used. And that was kind of, it was like, all right, well, and that's where we got into kind of this back and forth of like, all right, well, the town needs some money. We can't just like try to use up all these credits for 5 years. Maybe we give them some of this, but if we can get some of that, and that's, so.
No, and that makes perfect sense. And the direction of my question was of what I don't want to see happen is, okay, we're going to agree on these credits and then get to the next step and be like, now we don't like the design.
Right.
And I understand things have to happen in order, but what's sort of I just want to understand what's the good faith mutual goal,
Yeah, I mean, I think, I believe that with the application for annexation, the requirement now is that a master plan of some kind is part of that, Monica?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes,
so.
I'm sorry, Gina's been working on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Already.
Yeah, so there will be some, some transparency into how that would go.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yep. So this is like step one.
No, for sure, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself,
Yeah.
I'm just
Step
trying to
two
think
is-
through the steps. And
Yeah. Step two, they'll apply to annex and all the different things that need to be included in there. The master plan of the development is one of those things. Should also mention that the original annexation was for like 33 acres or whatever. Now it's 50-some.
That's what I was going to ask. I thought it was 40
Or 61.
acres, now it's 60?
So if you look at exhibit,
Where am
I think, or A,
They doubled it.
so the original Alpine Lakes property boundaries were what you see on this page here.
Where are we in this packet?
How far back was it?
It's like the last 4 pages of your packet.
I don't know if we've got that. Monica?
So you don't have exhibits?
No, exhibit, which one?
D?
B,
Oh, B.
Exhibit D?
B is
B.
the boy.
Oh, it's
I've got
D.
it, but there's not a map.
There's not a map.
We got a D.
Look at Mariah's all,
I'll put these on the table.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, maybe this is.
Oh, is this, okay, I see.
This is,
Come on.
got it.
know
Printed
as
weird.
the Alpine Lakes boundaries.
Yep.
This portion right here on this map
Carries over to that.
carries over, and the Palisades owns an additional 20 acres. So as part of this project, they're creating the boundary for annexation of, I think, total of 61 acres.
How much of this resides within, like, the air park, existing air park
The
neighborhoods or
ABR.
HOAs or any sort of, is there like an overlap?
There it is. That-
ABR boundary includes all of the R1 parcels that you see here.
Okay.
It includes these 4 parcels here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm unsure about this one. It does not include this one.
Okay.
AVR is kind of like a master HOA for that entire part of town.
Correct.
Right.
So I don't, it's not some exclusive group, like everyone over there is a part of it.
No, but is there a weird?
There will be a-
weird overlap of those parcels being sort of,
Here's a question. There will be a sub HOA underneath AVR for this development, right? I mean, there's going to have to be through the whole,
For sure.
yeah.
you know, if you got part of the development that's governed by that HOA.
Yeah, I
or
mean-
Part of it governed by the town, are you going to get into some weird?
Our goal
there.
would, our ultimate goal would be that this entire property would be taken out of ABR and be 100% under only town statute, town ordinance. That is our ultimate goal.
Is that?
Is that a possible?
Is that possible? We don't know.
Well,
Okay.
but here's a question.
Yeah.
So once they're in, they're abiding by our rules no matter what.
Your rules supersede theirs.
Yeah, so their HOA is kind of like our HOA over here at Riverview Meadows. Like, we have our own little rules within the HOA, but the town rules supersede everything. So,
Yeah.
and the same would be for this property when it was in.
Yep.
Keep firing away at your questions.
I'll stop for a second, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of, I mean, that was the, so my concerns when we first said nay on this on third reading, and to answer your question, my official thing was at behalf of council, that's why I said no on third reading. But my biggest concerns were particularly with the HOA and the air park overlap. Because conversations I had at the time with some of the air park folks, you know, they had their own butting of heads, and that did not seem like it was getting solved anytime soon. And therefore, that's why I was kind of like, okay, why would we want to come in between two folks that are adamantly opposed at one another at a project that, why would the town want to take on that headache? And if that hasn't been resolved, I guess what's that, is that climate still the same? Are we,
Here's what I anticipate. I anticipate that there will be a few people that seem to be the loudest voices over there that will be opposed to this because generally they're opposed to any development in that they want nothing there. They want this to just remain a field. There's nothing I can do about that, right? Now, what this was approved for in Lincoln County was substantially different than what you are going to see when it comes in as a master plan. You know, it had a huge section of kind of camping, glamping, casita type stuff and some really high density areas and different things. And it was, that was an approved plan by Lincoln County. And so, when I look at things like this and I see like the NIMBY kind of attitude, it's like, well, when you when you became a part of where you are now, were you aware that, like, this master plan from Lincoln County has existed for a very long time?
Right.
And you were very aware that this was approved to do this and and this is going to be a substantial improvement and less than what that is, and if you're opposed to it, sorry, and so I don't think you're getting in between this conversation, but I can't say that.
I would say we're getting in between, but we're becoming a part of.
Well, the way I see it is the town is saying, we want quality development, and this annexation agreement allows us to submit a proposal that we hope meets that quality development standard, and we're going to try to prove that to you. And you're allowing us to prove that. And if they don't like quality development, then really they're not opposed to us, they're opposed to you.
Or just development.
Or just development in general.
In general.
I also want to be really clear when we're talking about kind of the layers of the air park versus AVR. So AVR is the majority of these parcels, is the controlling HOA.
These
Whereas
parcels or the air park as a whole parcels?
AVR,
Okay,
and then
those.
the air park specifically overlays on only a very small portion of
Okay.
these parcels. And so there is in my opinion, there is differentiation there as well.
Okay.
And then I guess it'd be more pointed at Jim, in your past experience, have you ever seen an overlap like this where a town, incorporated town annexes half of a HOA
Half?
or a portion?
No, not a portion, it's usually the whole thing, but,
Right.
yeah, I don't, I mean, other than what we're talking about here, I don't know, I guess I can't, I can foresee all kinds of problems, but, I mean, if those landowners meet the specifications to be annexed in, then that's fine, so I.
Does it create a problem for the town or for that particular homeowner
I don't-
who would be subject to several different
Well, but.
entities?
Right now, Alpine Meadows, let's just take it, it's as a whole, they're subject to their HOA and they're subject to town rules.
It's kind of like buyer beware.
Yeah.
When a future buyer of a lot or a piece of property in there has the opportunity, this is all going to be disclosed. There's AVR, there's our own subdivision, and you're in the town of Alpine. Like, so there's no liability necessarily on our side.
Yeah, and I think probably,
Hold on a second.
I don't know, maybe you guys will correct me if you know anything about Daybreak down in South
Jordan.
Utah.
Yep.
I mean, that's a town.
Right.
It's a HOA, and then if you have a condo in there, you have your own HOA, and then there, within the blocks of condos, you have an HOA there,
Right.
and it's still governed by, I mean, it works, I guess. So-
Rex, did you have something, do you mind coming up to the mic? This is all being broadcast out into the world, so we want,
I just wanted to point out that
tell them
the,
who you are real quick.
Rex Dornbos,
Okay.
I just wanted to point out there are several lots in town that have already been annexed into the town that are already in AVR, including the lot we're building on currently, and then there's a townhome lot at the other side of Elkhorn Drive.
Which is Dead
Thanks,
Horse.
Rick.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So,
That answers it.
just pointing that out.
Yeah,
Thanks, Rex.
it's helpful.
There you go.
There we go.
Andrea, do you have any questions for these guys?
Not yet.
Okay. You can fire away with your
Yeah, I
other
think I'm-
questions.
Would you like me to address the money?
Yes, please. Now, again, you've made it very small, so hopefully you brought your,
So what I tried to accomplish when we first sat down with them was just the progression of how the money changed through these agreements. And I also gave you the printout of just the various agreements. But when they first entered into the memorandum of understanding, it was 2018. And you can see that in that first set of columns where it says town connection costs, at that time, you can see what
16?
in the blue, yeah, where 2016, where what those rates were then. Then there was, let's see, developer affidavit and certification of cost in 2020, and at that, and then there was partial assignment of developer credits in 21, and then there was the developer affidavit in 21. And so, and in 22 is when, then there was a first amendment to the developers agreement right before the prior administration vacated office. And so, when you look at this, what you see is the numbers. When they were calculated, way from the beginning, they were talking about $1.5 million. It was roughly, that was being assigned to the Funk property. I'm correct, right? And so, the way that last amendment was adopted, I was here then, but I was the deputy clerk, and the administration was outgoing. And so what transpired is there was a conflict that happened, and I know it's been discussed in town council meetings before. There was a large beats handed to the town because these agreements required them to certify their costs. Those costs were analyzed by the town engineer at the time, and he determined that the overall cost that could be assigned to the project at that time was a lot less money than what they were talking about in these agreements initially. And so that last meeting, what they did is they did the math based on the 2016 ordinance with lower connection fees. And they passed it under the 22, which immediately got them back all the money they had actually didn't have receipts for. So they elevated that by doing the division on an old non-existent ordinance in effect that wasn't in effect, and then doing the multiplication times the current one where the rates were higher. And so what you can see is they literally took that from $1.5 million to $2.5 million, or $2.25 million.
In which color?
So that's all the way over
Oh, okay.
here. And so what we've been able to do, because then as you know, the new ordinance in 26 actually could have just increased the value of these credits if we were to act in the same manner as the previous administration. But the mayor and I recognized that the people that we were dealing with, we felt like they wanted to be a part of Alpine and not just come in for nothing, but they just needed to make sure that the money that they were promised by who sold them the property, that they didn't lose that either. And understanding that we could have a conversation, that we were able to negotiate and keep their credit value at the 2022 cost. And so when, like Colby had explained earlier, and I thought he did a great job, so every time they do a connection or utilize an ERU, they will pay a portion, the variance, the difference between the current cost and the previous cost to the town. And so it's a huge win for us, because we literally, they could have done 180 ERUs in both water and sewer and never paid a dime.
We would have gotten zero out of it. So now we're getting the delta or the difference on what it was and what it is now, and essentially we're getting some of our impact fee under that scenario.
Sure.
And the was meaning 2022 versus 2026.
Yes. Yes.
And then what we've come up with is basically, we're going to, if we agree on this agreement and it passes town council, we're literally going to give them 180 sewer credits and 180 water credits in the form of a certificate. It's like having a stock certificate. It's the easiest way we can come up with. But when they come and hook up, they're just gonna go, here's your, and so there's no question how many are left. They've got them in their possession. There's no fuzzy math that happens in the future.
Right.
And hopefully you agree with that. That's fine.
Yep.
Okay.
So is this
And-
the agreement that's then going to come
Yeah.
on next week's, 2 weeks' agenda?
That's what we're hoping.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's also, in addition to this, a proposed annexation fee above and beyond the sewer credits. There's a $400 per unit residential annexation fee and $150 per 1,000 square feet of commercial.
And that would be payable right now as to what comes in on R1 and MRC zoning. And then we would hope that there'd be more density on a master plan and rezone. And to the extent it is, the zoning densities increase, then that fee will also be payable on the increased amount.
Shay, sorry you missed the first part.
I'll watch it.
But, yeah,
Mine always goes back to a forensic audit of the invoices that were submitted by WJW. But it sounds like you guys are past that.
yeah. Well, just to make sure we're on the same page, so there was a value at one point, there was $2.8
Yes.
million or whatever, and then it got cut down to
To
1 point whatever. Was it 1.5 or 1.9?
1.9, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the previous administration, the engineer actually did cut those expenses. But in reality, doing what we're doing, it really doesn't matter anymore. Because if you look at the list previously, there was things on there that should not have been in there, and they caught most of those, and they were taken out. So this is kind of to say, we don't care anymore about any of that stuff. We're just moving forward. Then the next administration doesn't have to go back and worry about what happened 8 years ago anymore.
And the value is now no longer on an ERU, it's now a set dollar. So if you guys increase your sewer charges, then we just pay the difference, whatever that is. It's frozen and, so, yeah. And that was, I think, a big issue in the beginning when we talked about it, was that, these credits were increasing in value because you were increasing the cost of sewer. Yeah.
And I think we didn't want to devalue them as well, because then it's like, the Funk's feeling would be that, like, we bought this thing for however much, and now the town of Alpine, if we're going to come in and hook into the infrastructure that this development really paid for, and they've devalued it, like, what did we really do? So I think this kind of satisfies any concerns that they would have on that.
Are the Funks coming, or is it just, are you working?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the Funks are here in presence.
Okay.
I'm Matt Kimmiller, their lawyer.
Okay.
So working for the Funks on this
Okay.
one, and, they've been integral on all of this, and are fully on board with the agreement.
Okay, I had asked for the agreement months back, and so it was just, I kept waiting to get it, and so it's
Well, literally,
nice
I
we finally
think
have it.
this was finalized, like, yeah.
They've had it.
The attorneys have been massaging, yes, that's a good word.
I'm just curious on Section 5, density-based annexation fee, not so much on the fees, but as an example for the term annexation rate means, and then the examples you give, residential, and the other is commercial, light industrial. For the town, we have, what's missing there would be R2, MRC. Do you know yet what you have zoned, or is it just going to be, is the residential what we consider R1? And then, will there not be any R2? And then also where it just says commercial, light industrial, does that mean there's not any commercial and light industrial?
So, when the property is going to be initially annexed in, it will only be R1 and MRC as we conceive of it.
MRC, so it'd be the town's definition of MRC?
That's right.
Okay,
And so when we say residential, that picks up R1, and then it also picks up, let's say the town makes a new residential local, whatever that zone
Sure.
is. The idea is anything that's primarily residential would have the $400 per unit fee. And then for, when it's initially annexed as MRC, then it'll have the $150 per $1,000 or 1,000 square feet. And then if there's a new zone that picks up either commercial or light industrial. So the idea is that there will be additional fees based on density on a rezone, and we're giving flexibility effectively.
Gotcha. So the MRC then would come into that $150 per 1,000 square feet?
Right.
Okay.
Unless it was primarily, if it was a residential unit.
Right.
Yeah, then it would be at the $400 dwelling unit.
Say you had a two-story building, and the bottom floor was all commercial, the upper floor was residential, then we'd have two different ways
Two
to
different
calculate
tiers.
that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so technically, the $400 per unit is a higher rate than the commercial, because like if you have a 2,000 square foot unit, that would only be $300. So the residential price annexation fee is designed to be higher per unit than, because there's going to be more residential than commercial, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
So have we run this by the engineers as far as our water and sewer right now? Because I know we've got, a few million here and there to improve infrastructure. So did Jorgensen look at any of this? I guess that would be my one. Oh, sorry.
No, typically, the engineers get involved at the annexation level. They did look at it before. I think I forwarded you the report, and if you want me to, I'll forward it again from the last annexation. Now, there is additional acreage, so I do need, if you guys approve this agreement, I need to be careful because it's not approved. If the council approves this agreement at some point, then they will proceed with an annexation, and they'll follow that whole planning and zoning process, and then on to town council. When the actual petition gets filed with me, then after I acknowledge their petition, set the hearing, I will do their report. And the report will, at that time, Shay, we will look at the additional acreage, as well as the acreage we looked at before.
Well, the whole plan may have changed as well, so it needs to be reevaluated.
Yeah, I really would like the...
But that's
Okay.
when the annexation happens, that's when that
Okay.
happens. So it doesn't really play into this agreement at this point, it's more of when the annexation happens.
And last week, I did send you the initial annexation report, and so a lot of that data is in there.
So just to add to that, this is a down-the-road question, but we learned a hard lesson with Alpine Meadows and annexing in infrastructure that we didn't create. So at what point in the process is the current infrastructure?
There's a
evaluated?
limited amount of infrastructure that's in place. So there's the mega well, and or well number 4, that many of you know that we've got a grant that's going to be tied into the existing water system and all the benefits that come with that. But there's not much other infrastructure put in. There's some water lines that have been run, like to some of these.
On the lower roads.
Yeah, right. So I think they've tied into right. So that's a major difference from what Alpine Meadows was, because Alpine Meadows had all the infrastructure in, roads, sewer, water, and there was no chance to inspect it. This, when the infrastructure gets put in, will have every inspection that the town of Alpine would require. And we've learned our lessons, and we're not going to let them do what they did before.
Right. Yeah, and I didn't know to what extent,
I would imagine
already.
if the additional infrastructure is turned over to the town of Alpine, because of course the mega well is already, that there will be a process that's through development at the state where we have an approved master plan, and there's a set of standards for additional subdivision. And so I agree with you, though, even the water infrastructure could leak. Especially in Wyoming soils, that can sometimes never surface. So those are things I appreciate that we should absolutely look at.
And then my next question, I'm not sure who to direct this to, maybe Jim. What is the de-annexation clause?
Basically.
What does it serve? What- yeah.
So if, my understanding is we're still in the process of doing our master plan. And they're trying to hit a moving target here with what they're trying to develop. If it comes to a situation that says, hey, this isn't going to fit with what we're doing, we already have a better infrastructure, or not infrastructure, but master plan deal with the county, we'll stay in the county, but the credits still stay the same with it. So, does that make sense? So they can de-annex themselves if they get in and then we start messing around and
At any
make it
point
so
in the
it
process?
doesn't work, yeah.
I'll speak on behalf of Funks. It's, their main concern with that is like this, we don't, this is not an ironclad agreement tying you guys to do anything with the annexation. It's a good faith agreement that says this is what our density is desired to be, and it sets forth a vision for it. And, and what their concern is that new people come in, people leave, and we're, 2 years down the road annexing, and all of a sudden somebody says, well, we know the agreement said we'd give you, 350 units worth of density, but we're going to drop that to 150 now and nix all your credits. And that gives them a mechanism to be like, hold on, time out, you're not honoring the agreement. So we can unannex from the town. That's the only mechanism that gives us any
Way of protecting.
Yeah.
protection for, that's it.
I would say that, it's a very important point that the credits still stay, right?
Yeah.
We are willing to compromise on the credits, solidify that it's not a full payment and a full credit, and go forward. So it could be that the town never annexes the property. It could be that it's annexed and then it's not rezoned in a way that really gives the, what we think will be the vision for this area, given how close it is to the highway. But credits stay, and then everything else is, we think it's going to be this really great development for the town. And within 21 months, we have the ability to de-annex. And so there's a finite point where either we're going to stay in the town or not.
I guess in reality, you can always de-annex from the town.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's part of the statute, but,
Yeah.
that's just written into this for, the 21 months.
And I apologize because I was late, so I'll watch the video. So that I can do the math. So it's 450 per residential and 150 per 1,000 square feet. How much are we talking once you're fully built out? Is that stays constant?
400.
That's paid up front.
Per residential?
400, not 450.
Yeah.
Oh, 400 per residential, okay.
That's on the
Is it
Page-
in here?
page 6.
Is the map? Oh, it's on.
Yes.
page
Okay,
6.
thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
This map,
No, but
just so you
the
know,
total amount that would be coming.
oh, yeah, that's yet to be determined, but this wasn't in ours, but that shows kind of the original, I'll just run you through it real quick.
That's all right.
This is like the original,
Yeah.
which did not get annexed, and then they're adding on this
On
piece,
that.
so it's closer to 61.
Is that the storage units?
Storage units are actually right
Oh.
here,
Okay, perfect.
so it's closer to 61 acres, Matt, is that right? Yeah.
That's right.
So just so everybody's clear, at this table, can you guys explain when the credits, like, when do they act? Because under the current agreement, they cannot access the credits unless they're annexed. So how does this agreement change that? Just so the council understands.
Could I ask a question to the question? And is the question that, can we use the credits right now?
That's what I'm asking.
Maybe. I mean, that is part of the issue, that we had agreed to a series of credits on the assumption that we'd be able to extra-jurisdictionally hook into the town, or that annexation was going to happen. And what we have now in this agreement, if it's adopted, is that ambiguity goes away. If we're annexed, we are able to hook in, obviously. if the annexation doesn't happen, or if there was a de-annexation, then we'd be able to hook in on an extra jurisdictional basis. And again, we're agreeing to, we're going to pay this portion of the credits, and whatever the town does as far as its fees, we're going to come in with cash to get that. That makes sense, Mike?
Yeah, there is one final thing. We do have properties that, in that area that are connected that I don't believe have paid anything, and I think there was an assumption that they would eventually utilize the funds credits. So that is something we will need to
There's like a
work
few
through.
properties that
I
are
think
already
there's
tied into
3
the water
properties.
system, I believe.
If I
Three.
remember right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Monica, I talked to Morgan and Trevor Funk about that, and there's no issue.
Okay,
That's the
perfect.
record that
Yeah.
we just want to understand.
Yep, we'll make sure we get you all that. Yeah.
Can we just make an accounting of those?
Yep.
Before we have, before.
Melody has it,
Okay.
yes.
And then kind of along those lines, if the annexation isn't passed, or you decide to de-annex, now you get to use the credits, obviously, and then we've shown the difference between 2022 to 2026, or whatever may be in the future, that delta between what the credits are and what the cost is for usage. However, we also have, if you're not in the incorporated town of Alpine,
Well, that's a good point.
I was just gonna ask that.
there's a 25% extra cost. Is that,
I don't think it's addressed.
That's not in there. That's just statutory.
so that's...
It's already an
so-
ordinance.
So essentially, what you're saying, Jim, is because our ordinance says that if you are not in the town limits, that your connection costs are 150% more for sewer, and I think
25%.
25%.
Is it,
125,
for both?
150.
I thought it was 150 for sewer and 125 for water, but I could be,
That is what we left.
Okay.
150, 125.
yeah.
Yeah, all this says is
Okay.
that we get 12,000,
Yeah, just what's the number?
$12,500 bucks for
Okay.
I
credit.
mean, just so you guys are aware, if
Yeah.
that time does come, or you're like, well, wait a minute, the town does have a difference for those not in the town incorporated.
Yeah, I mean, technically, we could sign this and, in a month later, you could double your sewer fee.
Right.
Like, there's no restriction on, all it says is we get 12,500, no matter what the cost is, we get that credit.
Okay.
Any other questions for these guys? Shay, you may, after you watch the first part, have any other questions that...
I'll reach out.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
reach out. I mean, we can figure out who you need to reach out to, but...
Now, we'll hold public hearings, because I know I'm starting to get questions from citizens. So
Yeah.
it'll just be on the agenda like.
So, yeah, I think we're assuming at this point, it'll be on the agenda for the 19th of May for your consideration, this agreement. And so if council adopts this agreement,
For first reading?
no, this isn't an agreement,
The agreement.
Oh,
one
first
reading.
agreement. Oh, okay.
So, and then we will, so annexation, though, will be that entire process.
Right. Okay.
So,
Can we push it to June? I'm out of town, so I don't know if that's possible. I mean, this is a lot to no offense to you, Carl, to
it is a
just
lot.
get this.
When will
and
you be here?
I will
The
be
first
here the
meeting?
next one, the first week of.
Yeah.
so I
I don't
know
think that's
Amy
a-
will not be,
Oh,
I'm
you're
going, I'm going to June the 2nd in June.
You're here for the first
I'm
meeting
here
in
for
June.
the first meeting, but.
So I think,
Let's just put it on.
let's just put it on, and then that gives you more time to, chew on this, and we can put it out to public, let the public come up with any
Okay.
questions that they have.
Just because it's the largest that isn't this one of the largest annexations? How big is
Well,
it?
but that has nothing to
was-
do with this.
yeah.
But this does have something
Well,
to do
no,
with
it's the
because
agreement.
It's an agreement.
It was 58 acres for the last one that we did, but, so they're very, very similar, yes.
Okay.
So, but it is bigger than that one.
Yeah, I mean,
Because this is
I
our,
guess I'm getting confused when we're trying to silo two different things.
Yes.
So, Jim, what is this binding us to versus we
Binding us
keep
to
doing
this
this
credit.
annexation?
The credit value. That's basically
Okay.
what is.
But don't, I mean, I'm feeling like cart before horse. Am I missing something?
No, we have to have
We
this
have to have a
agreement.
credit value.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
but you don't,
But I
you
would
probably
like-
don't have to. I think the
I would
reason.
like to state
Yeah.
that, it is our, by virtue of entering into this agreement,
Yeah.
we are all, I believe, saying that there is a good faith agreement to go forward with an annexation, because a lot of that, I don't want to completely dismiss that. I know that this does not force you to annex anything, it does not force you to approve anything with those are two very separate things, but it is laying out the framework for that. And it is our expectation that our application is going to be received, if it follows these standards, it's going to be received favorably. So,
And unfortunately, the last annexation process that they did, the town council got to the third reading, and I think there was some discomfort with the annexation agreement. So the approach this time was not, and now our annexation process costs, $10,000. And so I think that the goal here was to avoid the expense of another annexation and ending up
Right.
in the same place. They wanted in good faith to bring you what they're coming to the town with.
Yeah.
That's the way I
No,
received it.
that's-
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely what happened last time, is like, on the third reading, it was like, hold on, what about all these agreements? And that's when it just became too much. And that's when it was shot down on third reading. And now that if we clarify this stuff, then I think that does make them feel better about the prospect of coming in and having the fair shot on a second chance. But that's just my opinion.
So just on timing, and I hear you that you're going to be gone. I think everybody's going to be gone at some point over the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've been working on this for 6 months, is there value in just getting it on the agenda and just being done with this step, as opposed to putting it off another month?
I'm
Well, not
fine
a
doing
month.
it whenever.
Are you not here June 2nd?
No, I'm just asking to put it on the next agenda, the
May
May 19th agenda.
Well-
This has already been going on for 6 months, all these discussions. We already took it off Tuesday's agenda because we didn't understand, so here we're doing this step.
And I don't have any problem putting it on next week. I don't want people to say that we're pushing this through. I think that's a perception thing.
I think it's a
And,
big perception thing.
yeah, and so.
I mean, even though you guys have been working for 6 months, the public doesn't know that this has been worked on for 6 months. And
Well-
it's the largest annexation.
Yeah.
So I don't want pitchforks that like, did we really take time?
In all reality, we've been working on it for 8 years. So, it's,
There's been a lot of public.
No, I know.
yeah.
But
And-
there's been a lot of drama around it. So
Yeah.
I just want to, this isn't like new to the party. I just want to make sure we do our due diligence.
I guess my point is, we've been working on it for 8 years. I don't know what a couple more weeks is gonna, so they may not agree, but I'm sure they're super
Just
motivated.
throwing out the trying to be fair
ultimately,
here.
what we want is a unanimous vote. That's ultimately what we want. So, it's,
We can't guarantee that. I'll
Right.
tell you.
But that's what we're always seeking. We're not seeking, 3/5. We want, so whatever that takes, whatever time we got to spend to, educate everybody, we're happy to do it, within reason.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to throw a wrench. I am but one vote.
No,
I just can't miss my.
and we
vote.
can certainly even schedule a public hearing if,
And I don't
I
want
mean,
to,
we want to do whatever that will make the public happy. Like if you want us to, advertise a special public hearing
I
within
I
our
don't think
meeting,
we're ever gonna make the public happy, Monica, but we should try our hardest, for sure.
that's a goal. That's
Yeah,
always the goal.
Yeah, and let's talk about it. Maybe we
Okay.
do incorporate a public hearing in this, so it's just, part of this thing. But, yeah, we want to be transparent to everybody. This is a
Yeah.
huge deal to the town. So, let's just, for right now, say it's going to be the first meeting in June.
Okay.
And then whether it's a public hearing or it's just on the agenda, we'll determine that. So, does that sound all right?
that would be great if you guys are, again, our agendas are hitting 10, 15, 20 items. So it's like we get a packet on Thursday, we have to spend 8 to 12 hours reading packets. This is but one of like, we just
For
keep
sure.
getting hammered with packet
Yeah.
after.
Well, that'll be a lighter meeting, hopefully,
hope
because
so.
it's not, we'll try to make it as light as possible, just because it's kind of a heavy topic, but, you know, we'll have our budget, final reading of the budget will be the second meeting in June, so we won't have to worry about that, but, all right, any other questions for these guys while we've got them? Okay, let's take just a couple minute break, give everyone get a water or use the restroom, and then we'll come back and do the second part of our meeting here in just a few minutes.
You want to
So-
just turn off your mics while we're
Yeah.
gone?
You all the way out?
Well, I'm going to try to see.
Dustin? Okay, so now, you guys.
Yeah, I'll make a note of that, and we should have a meeting next week.
Yeah, I just don't think, I don't know if we'll have,
Okay, we're back in session. This is the second half of the Alpine Town Council budget work session. And now we're going to talk about budget and the capital projects. So we've invited a few people to come and talk, but I wanted to start off with a discussion that Monica and I have been brainstorming. And we had a few minutes to talk to Colby before that. And it's regarding this piece of paper that you should have. Okay, so on the agenda the other night was the Melvin giving them authorization to apply for a building permit for a warehouse. And we didn't do that, and so I want to lay out what we can do to help Melvin. Melvin can help us. And so this is what I would suggest. If Melvin came forward and gave us a good faith effort, they said, we'll pay down the roughly $300,000 that they owe us. They're making a good effort to show that, you know, they want to pay up on their debts. We offer them, they come to, we're not making this decision here in this meeting, but we put it back on the agenda. They have the opportunity to come and ask to put up the warehouse, okay? Then, I don't know if that'll help or hurt, but I would imagine it helps their prospects of selling the building and, or selling the property, which they will stay on and lease back. Then, the town will get the $1.636 million in recapture, which we can turn around and pay off the loan that we took out for the pretreatment plant, and then, which is $900 and some thousand.
Yeah.
Right. So that falls off the books. Then we have left, let's just say approximately $600,000 that we can, there's a couple different things we could do. We could loan it to the sewer plant for projects. For example, like the UV lights. You know, right now, currently, we don't have that on there. We could, there's a lot of different things that we could do, but really that money from the WBC is kind of like, Monica, what's the word I'm looking for? We're supposed to.
So the grant agreement actually asked that we create an economic development
Right.
program.
So what we could do is we could take that 600,000, we could come up with some way of using it for economic development. I think, I won't speak for Melvin, but I'll let Colby speak here in a minute. But I think that checks some boxes. I know that the cost to treat their water, their sewer, is really high, right? So if we can figure out how to get the cost down, pay off some of our debts, I think it's a win-win-win for everybody. And it's directly related to our discussion on the budget, so I just wanted to mention that. So, Colby, do you have anything to say?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if I can just, once again, history matters, right, so.
Thanks.
Am I on the record?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Colby Cox, Pure Madness Brewery Group, Melvin, more commonly known as Melvin Brewing Company. So, when we bought Melvin, it was, we were told, not only by the sellers, but also in the agreements and things like that, that this, you know, one of the big bogeys in their operation was their sewer, their cost of sewer and sludge hauling. It was like, you know, it was expensive compared to the cost per barrel, which is how we measure in brewing, of what our waste disposal up in Jackson is, let's say. That was in the range of around $75,000 to $100,000 a year in sludge hauling, is about what it was costing. So there was some big argument between previous owners of Melvin and previous administration of Alpine over this sewer thing when we stepped in. Don't know what that was. At one point, there were rocks flying back and forth, and people were going to sue people, and it seems like it just dissipated after we bought the company. But then we inherited this phenomenon where a grant had been applied for a sewer pre-treatment facility, and our assumption was that this pre-treatment facility was going to improve the cost of sewer for both the town and for Melvin. I think that was also the mayor and council's assumption as well. Okay, so a lot of things happened. This was back in December of 2022. We bought the company. We started operating in January of 23, and then a couple people get involved and find out that there's been some money spent. We don't know where it's gone. There's a lot of engineered drawings, but the project's not necessarily moving forward at the pace that it was supposed to. There's some frustration on the town's part. Wyoming Business Council saying you're going to lose this grant if you don't go forward, and all this stuff. And so, generally speaking, I would say the council got handed a problem. It needed to be fixed. We weren't really involved in the project at all. We didn't, it wasn't our construction project. Well, fast forward to today, and it appears as if it is not going to lower the cost of our sewer treatment, and there is the potential that it might more than double or potentially triple or more the cost of our treatment. We are going to work to try to solve that together with the town. Our wastewater engineer, town's wastewater, Drew, we're all focused on that. It was also not supposed to cost nearly as much as it did to build. And likely would not have had it been executed under the original plan in the time frame that it was supposed to be executed, I would say.
Or a better plan was made from the beginning.
Or a better plan was made. But in the time period of all the delays and everything, inflation went to 100% over 4 years or 3 years, and things got crazy, and the grant was fixed and the costs went up, and here we are today. So that is a long way of saying that nobody in this room was responsible for creating any of this, but we all got screwed by it. Okay, so we have to deal with it. And this, I have approached the mayor kind of with hat in hand and said, look, like at some point we were coming down to the feasibility of us actually being able to function in this space. Like, I don't know if people understand this broadly, but like the next billionaire is not going to be created in the craft beer industry. I promise you. Okay? So, our margins are not such that we can pay 5 times what it costs us to dispose of wastewater in Jackson Hole, which is already ridiculously expensive. So we have to find a solution to this, and we're focused on that. We're asking for a little bit of patience in the interim to let these engineers work together and solve it. In the meantime, we are willing to make a good faith gesture in paying down some of our old stuff, which is a lot of the sludge hauling that we were hoping was going to come down, which obviously isn't. We will start making payments toward that. We do want to sell the property. The reason we want to sell the property is because we have invested, since we've bought Melvin, over $6 million in capital expenditures in improving that brewery. So there's a $4.5, approaching $5 million new canning line in there. We've redone the restaurant. We just had to redo the whole kitchen. We've done a lot of things to try to improve the space. Owning the real estate, we cannot get any value out of that. It just is what it is. And in a very capital-intensive business that requires millions of dollars of investment to keep up equipment every year, also owning the building and the real estate underneath it does not make sense. So the idea is that we would sell this and then we would lease it back from the buyer, and we could free up some of the capital, most of which is going to be used to pay down debt. Your debt and third-party debt that we have in terms of financing that whole canning line improvement and everything. So that's really what's happening. If, is there anything else that I should comment on
It
relative to
seems
that?
like you're open to what I kind of laid out.
Very open to what you're laying out. I think when we first got the report from the engineers that essentially said, this is $1 million over budget and it's going to cost you $400,000 a year or $350,000 a year to treat your sewer, we went back to headquarters and said, where are we moving, honestly? Because there's no physical way we can function in that environment. And we want to be here. We do not want to go anywhere, I promise you. In fact, we want to get bigger here. So that is our goal, but I mean, at some, we are willing to bend, we just can't break, is what I keep saying, so.
And I don't think it benefits the town of Alpine not to have Melvin here.
Yeah. I hope that people see it that way. Because as I've said many times, we are in this business, we are in craft beer because craft beer is a community-centric business model. It relies primarily on local people drinking our beer to support our organization. And so if, we would like to be liked.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks, Colby. Any quick questions for Colby?
Yeah, I guess my only question was, obviously, my line of work, your line of work, your days on market, do we feel like it is a viable sale in a year, 2 years? And then you and I don't hold a crystal ball.
Right.
So I think that's my only, at 10 million, trying to figure out who's out there ready to invest. Again, it is a viable property.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm crossing my fingers, there's that, or investor, whoever it is out there.
So I'm hopeful, we have received a couple offers. I'm hopeful that we will sign one within the next, an LOI and be under contract within the next, call it, by the end of this month. That is my hope. We're pushing for a 60-day due diligence period and to close within 15 days of that. So that would put us closing this summer. I feel reasonably confident that that is going to happen. And we're paying a good price in terms of a cap rate on rent, and then, we're a good tenant.
I know, because your cap rate.
We're sticky. We're sticky. It's not easy to just pick up our stuff and go.
Especially build a warehouse, a 20,000 square foot warehouse. Just take a minute and tell what effect that would make to your business by having that here.
It would be massive. So right now we are brewing in Jackson. We have a 12,000 square foot warehouse in Jackson. We have another 15,000 square foot warehouse in Evanston, and then we have our brewery here. And it costs us about $400,000 a year just to move ingredients and raw materials between all those places. And our goal one day is to have one operation here in Alpine. We know that when we get that warehouse, we can shut down Evanston and Jackson warehouse. Jackson Brewery, for now, is going to continue, but the two warehouses eliminate, and that brings, we also have multiple employees that man all these things that will all be consolidated here in Alpine, and it allows us to grow, because right now that's what's keeping our growth down. We have the capacity to brew more beer, we have nowhere to put it. So that's the issue.
Any other quick questions for Colby? And then we'll get on to the rest of our.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Colby.
Yeah.
All right, so I thought that was an important way to start it off. We can, also, Shay, you invited someone from Lucky's Place.
I did.
Do you want to
Yes, let's
just give us
go
a quick,
Yeah.
go for it.
I apologize. Okay, we have Marty here from Lucky's Place. He is not on the board. What is Diane's position? Diane's president of the board. Okay, his wife is the president of the board. In historical fashion, towns used to support Lucky's with financial, we are not talking donations, we are talking actual service. So what this comes down to is in front of you, you have an independent contractor agreement. as we all know, whether it's Facebook, Misty's List, you name it, we all know we have a pet problem in Lincoln County. And Lucky's is a nonprofit, a couple paid employees, but is a high-ticket, no-kill shelter. And so part of the reason I chatted with Marty is we are talking Star Valley Ranch, Thane, Afton, Alpine. If the county can't give or support the shelter, how can the town support the shelter? And obviously Alpine cats and dogs are picked up and taken to this shelter, and we benefit that we always have a place for pets to go.
That's currently how it works?
Well, meaning.
Typically.
Typically. I want to let, now Marty
Yeah,
can
thanks.
share.
Again, I'll reiterate, I am a volunteer officially at Lucky's. I'm not on the board, I'm not an employee. I want that to be clear because I don't want to misrepresent.
Yeah.
But my wife is the president of Lucky's. She took that over, I guess, September of last year when the founder of Lucky's retired. And we're here now because in reorganizing Lucky's, after Mary Ann's retirement, we learned some things. Nothing untoward, nothing, there's no conspiracy, just things that in general operation we didn't understand. One of those things was that Lucky's is very much a shoestring shelter, budget-wise. To give you an example, last year, our income was about $239,000. Our expenses were $314,000. So you can see we're operating.
Where does that revenue come from now?
Largely, almost entirely, small dollar donors. Excuse me. We do have some higher dollar donors, but when I say higher dollar, I'm not talking about billionaires from Jackson. I'm talking about thousandaires from the valley. So we're getting, $50, $100 donations. We also do, and I'm sure you're familiar, but if you're not, I'll make you familiar today. We do a lot of fundraising, and we have a lot of community involvement throughout the valley. Or involvement, I should have said support, throughout the valley. I guess they don't do it anymore. This year was the last year of the Colby Classic that's done here in Alpine. There's a barbecue at the RV Park outside of Star Valley Ranch. There's other events. We do take in a decent amount of money from those. But if anybody has done that kind of fundraising, you know that it's costly to do. So as we're taking it in, we're also shelling it back out to help pay for that.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Are you guys set up to be like dog catchers or anything? Like what? You're purely
Not-
just a shelter, right?
Not exactly, I wouldn't say your stereotypical dog catchers, but we do catch them. What happens typically is somebody will call us, and if we have the availability, usually of volunteers, because as Shay said, we don't have many employees. We can't afford to pay them.
Right.
We'll go out and try to locate the dog and catch them. But as like your stereotypical municipal officer that would be out there catching them, no.
Okay.
We aren't set up that way.
I think one thing that makes this very difficult for us is statutorily, we can't just donate money.
That's
So we
all.
have to receive a service of some sort. And some people might question, well, what about the Thane Senior Center? Well, they actually provide meals. I don't know how often. It's
every week.
Every week in Alpine. So that's where that money goes to. So I think for us to consider this, we have to figure out what's the exact service that you're providing the town of Alpine before, we can get there, so.
And I guess I'm going to say, to me, the service is when an Alpine citizen loses a pet, Lucky's takes it in and returns it. So I feel like if I was to represent this to the public, that's how I would represent it. I think, and I'm not talking, I mean, I know we're within our boundaries, but to me, that is a service that is a huge part of our valley.
Right, well, like how many dogs from Alpine or cats end up at Lucky's place?
We get asked that question in every community, and it's not an easy answer for several reasons. One, we don't count them that way. But two, animals, unlike humans, don't pay attention to city boundaries.
Yeah.
So you may lose an animal from the town of Alpine, and it may end up in Freedom or,
Yeah.
So which town gave it to us? We don't, both, and every town in between. I like what Shay was saying as far as that service, but we're not limited to just that service. We provide a much larger scope of service, and I'm probably going to do a disservice and not
Well, we don't want to
explain
put you on
all
the
of
spot
it.
either, yeah.
But as I understand it, Alpine requires licensing and incentivizes spay and neutering. If somebody from your town gets an animal from us, adopts an animal from us, that animal will be spayed or neutered. If you license an animal to your citizens and that animal ends up at our shelter, which most of the time that's where they end up if they get lost, we honor that license. We don't go out and adopt that animal out to somebody else. We find the owner,
Right.
and sometimes at considerable expense. We take in a tremendous number of unlicensed, unowned strays that aren't necessarily feral, although we take in those too.
Right.
We do a lot with respect to that as a service. Number one, it reduces the amount of stray population you have or feral population you have in your communities because we're taking them. We don't kill to make space. And if we run out of space, we start looking for space. We foster out a lot of animals. By doing that, we cut down on the disease that is associated. We cut down on predation, both predatory activities of the animals that we would otherwise take in and the attractive nuisance that those animals are to larger predators that would come into your communities. So we do a lot in the way of service that the towns could either ignore or might have to take on themselves by hiring, like you asked me, a dog catcher, and then creating a facility to put the dogs and cats that you catch. We also provide another service. If you told your town, if you polled your town, you would probably find that the largest majority of pet owners acquired their pets from us. And one of the reasons we're attractive in that regard is that we socialize our animals. That's actually what I volunteer, and if I get into that, we're going to be here all day.
Which we don't have time for that.
Right. So I just want to tell you, we do that, and we're working to expand that.
Right.
So all these things are part of the overall service that we provide, and we do it for the whole valley. We are the only animal shelter that I'm aware of in Lincoln County, other than the one at Kemmerer, and that's not, and I'm not disrespecting it, but that's not much of a shelter. They're not open very often, and they don't have that many animals.
Yeah.
We get adoptions from all over the region, as far away as Idaho Falls, and not too long ago, somebody from Denver, the Denver area, came out to get some of the animals that we have.
Well, I appreciate you coming. Does anyone have any questions real quick for this gentleman?
No, and I guess, I mean, not to say to Jim, I guess we'll talk, because if all the towns had the same independent contractor agreement, the hope is all the towns would have same same legal.
Can I ask a question about it? I was a little confused on what the contract was actually, and I know it's a template, but I was a little confused on what it's actually offering. So it says that the town will be responsible for contacting you guys, and when the transportation of a dog or cat is necessary, upon contacting you, Lucky's place, the dog or cat will be delivered within 24 hours. I don't understand what that means, and maybe I'm just being dense.
No, you're not. First off, let me explain. That template agreement was one, and this is just a real brief history. Mary Ann had agreements with every town in the valley.
Okay.
We found 2 of them. There was a large volume of paperwork. We're still looking for them. But we understand that all the towns in the valley had signed service agreements back in 2016. Sometime around 2020, coincident with COVID, payments ceased. We're not looking for back payments. We don't know why they ceased. We think because of the confusion of COVID, they stopped, but we don't know. At any rate, what you have in front of you is the generic agreement. As to your specific question, typically the way animals end up in our shelter, because the valley pretty much knows about us, if you find a stray, a lost dog or cat or whatever on your property, the citizen from your town usually brings that animal to us, and the town never gets involved. Yeah. Sometimes a citizen calls us and says, hey, I found a dog, don't know where it lives, can you come get it? And then, as happened last December, the mayor of Star Valley Ranch called us and said, hey, I got a dog in my yard, would you come get it? Sometimes the town involved uses one of their public works or municipal officers to bring that animal to us, and sometimes they can't, and they ask us to do it. And that's what that is talking about, is that we will get there. If you call us at 2 o'clock in the morning, we're probably not coming. But if you call us at 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll get there the next day.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate you
Thank
being
you.
here, yeah, and we're going to definitely discuss it. We've got a lot of big things to discuss.
Understood.
And just one last question.
Sure.
I'm sorry. There's no amount.
We're actually, there were different amounts from each town. And they ran in a range typically from 800 to 1,600 a year. And because we found out when the new board reorganized Lucky's that we were on a thinner shoestring than we thought we were, a lot of people think Lucky's has a big endowment. It does not. We are asking for an increase. I did not want to be presumptive and suggest to you what we think you ought to pay. And but just, if you look at the figures I gave you, 230-some thousand in income and 300 and nearly 20,000 in expenses. If you guys gave us, if every town in the valley gave us $10,000 a year, it would not solve that deficit. And that's just the deficit. That's not. So we're asking for an increase in what Alpine used to pay, and I do not have that number off the top of my head, but I believe it was between $800 and $1,000 a year.
I think it was 1,000.
It was 1,000.
So-
Yeah, I think I pulled that for you, didn't I?
Yeah, but I see what you mean. You're 80,000 in a deficit, so.
Pretty much. And if we
Thank
go
you.
away,
We'll feel.
that's a problem.
Yeah, it's a problem for the valley, for sure.
Yeah.
It is.
So, and you're not going to solve our deficit. All 4 towns aren't going to solve it. The county isn't going to solve it. I'm not going to try to pretend that you're going to rescue us. But like all charities, we're a 501c3. Every bit helps. We're hoping you can help a little more than a bit.
All right.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so what we want to do is really hammer it with the time we have remaining here, hammer down on priorities of sewer and water and general fund projects. Now, Monica, back to the original discussion we had, how does getting this Melvin money affect next year's budget?
So, I mean, obviously, the income's booked per year. If Melvin does close on the sale, though, August, we're going to clearly see a huge boost in income in the general fund. We will not see an increase
In
of
water?
income because that's already booked, because it was booked in a prior year. However, we will see an increase in the bank account, and that's why I added those numbers to this spreadsheet on the cash position.
Yep.
Because it seems like realistically, they think it's a strong possibility. So, if that happens, we could utilize the money that Melvin uses to fix our problems here and not actually touch cash.
Where do you have that added?
Just only
Oh,
on
here,
here.
okay.
Only on this sheet.
Okay, got it.
And then it doesn't necessarily,
Okay.
she hasn't done anything in here, but she needs to hear what we think the priorities are
Right.
as far as capital, and then she will adjust the budget.
Yeah. Just don't want to,
To me,
chickens before the eggs hatch.
Yes.
for
So-
sure, it's difficult to
Okay.
plan for that. But, for example, the ultraviolet disinfectant system, 175, to me, that's probably, I don't know, I won't speak for Dustin, but I think that's one of the biggest priorities we have down there. Yeah.
So actually,
Yeah.
Dustin, can I ask you a couple questions? So I've got my notes from when we met 2 months ago, maybe.
Dustin, will you go up
Yeah.
to there? Do you mind? Thank you.
It's being recorded for the whole world to see.
All right, no, thank you.
But no pressure.
These are my notes from when we met a couple months ago, and I asked you, what's the thing you lose sleep at, at night? And I think it was that gas detection system
Yes.
that's being worked on. Just go running down my list, like you had, the hazardous gas detection system.
Which we've
the
already-
lift station hookup for the generator we had grant funding for that one already, right? But then your next priorities were the UV system, and then the membranes and the screw press backup? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. And the pre-treatment screen. So we have these,
And
First ones,
what,
okay.
having that, for one, paying off that $1 million loan, I mean, that frees up that, that payment on a yearly basis for sure. But also, having that extra money allows us, if something becomes a super high priority during next year, let's just say the current ultraviolet light system that we have right now just totally takes a dump and it's done. And we have to find a place to fund it. Well, the general fund could loan the money to the sewer fund to pay for that if we had this economic development money in hand. So that's my point, that I don't know that we need to necessarily make that decision right this minute, Monica, but do we need to have it on next year's budget that we're going to spend that money so we can actually spend it? Or do we just adjust it just like we've been doing everything else whenever they come up?
Yeah, and so I asked Jim to stay, because he did ask about, he did say, do we need him for the budget meeting? And I said, I thought we were going to get into this conversation about those monies, and so I asked him to stay. I'm thinking what we're going to create, probably, because it was one of the things called out in the grant agreement, is perhaps a revolving loan fund, or what do you think? Well, then you tell me.
Okay, sorry, I just.
No, that's fine.
researched all of that. We can't, the
I'll let
Wyoming
Jim-
Constitution,
Thanks.
Wyoming Constitution prohibits governmental entities from lending money to
Okay.
anybody. There are statutory provisions for things like the State Land Investment Board and those things, but they're statutory creations. There's nothing I can find that says a municipality can create such a entity or even allow that. So that is not possible. There may be an ability to do a joint powers board where you would, maybe take that fund and get in with the county to match it and then do something like that. You could do it under that procedure, but we as a town, we can't even form an economic development board, give the money to them and have them
Okay.
do it.
Thank you for looking into that.
Yeah, we
So
can't.
it would have to be internal, though. Like, we could have the money go into the general fund, lend the sewer department, water department.
You can lend the sewer and water department the money to pay out, whatever it needs to be done to pay. And I just looked that up. You can charge whatever rate of interest you want. It can be 0%, it could be 1%, it could be 0.5%. So there's no floor on the amount of interest that you charge. So all you would have to do with that is set up a payment program and put that as part of the resolution and pass that.
So what's the benefit of charging ourselves interest?
Well, because technically when you look at it, the water fund, the sewer fund, or they're called enterprise funds, so they're their own business.
Yeah.
So it would be, here's a business, you're giving it that money so that it can do whatever it does as far as its business, and it's paying us back. We can do that under the Constitution.
It's like perception, maybe.
Yeah, it's just perception. I mean,
But
it's all up to you. I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah.
like
You
I
don't have
said,
to.
Yeah, it's up to you guys.
you don't have to put an interest amount on it because, to me, it's,
It seems almost ridiculous.
Robbing pay,
Well, we
Ourselves interest.
Well, we are
And then
losing
can we move
what's
the,
that?
we are losing into the bank.
Right. I mean,
we-
holding it in there and,
Yeah, there's about
The
100,000.
opportunity cost of, it would be the reason why you charge interest.
I guess I was wondering on the Alpine Meadows, 400,000, does it have to stay under sewer even though it's like asphalt and everything else? Like, I feel like we always have more money in the general, and I'm just trying to figure out,
it's a fact, yeah.
can't we go from somewhere else? Because
No.
Well,
Even
by the
though
way,
it
the
was-
400,000 is
Oh.
like, we're hoping to get a grant for that, right? That's a grant, so we're hoping not to spend cash for that
Okay.
project.
okay, sorry, back to Dustin.
I just realized.
Nice to meet you, Dustin.
Dustin, if you had, what's your top three?
Yep.
Ultraviolet light,
The UPs, well, the hazardous gas system
Which
for the
is-
headworks is
Now, where's
already,
that?
already going.
Oh, it's already,
it's ongoing, it's already
Okay.
happening.
UVs, and then the Kubota membranes. And the membranes is just basically to have that money set aside when the time comes.
yeah.
Can you clarify one thing for me? When the whole system is up and running, let's just say we get more users online, doesn't the lifespan of the Kubota membranes extend, or it works better when it's utilized more?
It works better when it's in process. If it's just sitting idle.
Dormant, yeah.
It's going to decline.
So like when we were just running one train for so many years, the other one was degrading because
Yes.
it wasn't being used?
Yep.
Okay, so just being used, it doesn't really matter if it's being really utilized or partially utilized?
Their lifespan, Kubota says, is 7 to 10 years. We got 16 out of that first set, out of train one. So the way we operate and what influent types we get, we should get that lifespan out of the second set.
Go ahead.
The other two I had from before were the screw press backup sludge pump and then the pretreatment fine screen replacement part. Are those still?
The pretreatment stuff, I mean, it's all important, right?
Yes.
One thing goes down, we
Yep.
shut down the whole pretreatment plant, basically. If the screw press goes down, we're starting to call Dry Creek back. So it's very, very hard to
Right.
decipher which one's more important.
Sure. But that's just what you identified earlier.
Yeah.
Those are still higher on
Yes.
the list than some of these other parts that we also need. But
Beans that they're new, right? They're brand new, they should last a few years at least.
So we
I
had
guess that's-
fiscal year '26 for the backup sludge pump for $22,900. So, I mean, that's a question, do we just want to spend that money right now? It sounds like that's what your preference would be, to have that, okay.
Yep.
So I think we should look at that for the adjusted current budget and then consider the others for next year's budget. Okay. Any other questions for Dustin? Okay, thanks, Dustin.
Thanks.
Okay, let's talk about water next. Got Craig here, he's gonna go over this real quick. Craig, we're already working on the mega well tie-in, of which we've got a grant for $205,000. The rest is, we've got to put in the budget the $410 for next year. And then just give us like your top three after that, your highest priorities.
The booster room replacement pump, that's pretty high. And then the replacement of the water line on Nelson Lane and on Overlook, but I think we're applying for a grant for that as well.
Yeah.
But those are the two highest priorities. The concrete pad to the mega well, that's not a necessity, that's more of a want. And then move the generator to the mega well, that can be pushed way down the road. Because we're getting the new generator for the main well house. And so once that connection's tied in, then everybody, if we have a power outage, will get water
That's great.
from there. So, yeah.
It's definitely a priority, but I don't know
Yeah, it's
when we're going to be able to take that on.
right, for sure, yeah.
So really, I mean, your booster room pump for 15 grand is like the only thing that's super pressing right now, is what I'm hearing, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I asked if it was being done, because in my mind, I thought had already moved.
I'm still working on nailing down the quote. Yep.
Okay.
Do you think you're in the ballpark at 15 grand?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
So that could.
Can we move that into this year?
Into this year's?
To me, it makes sense to just do it now and then focus on for 26 for this one.
Yeah, because we're going to end this fiscal year in the positive, in that fund, so
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Awesome.
just to
Thanks, Craig.
confirm,
Oh, go ahead.
so replacement of water main in Nelson Lane and Overlook is a higher priority than the well house generator
The
install?
well house generator is a must. I thought I said that, sorry.
I may have heard you wrong, so that's why I'm
Yep.
confirming.
The well house generator, yep, we've got a grant for that.
Okay.
Yep. So that's like, that and the mega well are the two musts.
Okay.
What he was talking about is this one, the concrete pad road access, is that the one you were talking
that's
about?
That's a medium.
Let's just clarify the well house generator. You've got the $89,000 grant for that.
Correct.
And the whole project is 149. So that's going to be in the 2027 budget, basically, no matter what. I mean,
Yes.
we're getting the funds, so that is a big priority, of course, and it's already on there. It's similar to the mega well tie-in, but, so, I think these others at the bottom, need to just move out to 2028 and beyond,
Yeah, I would agree.
so. Okay, awesome, thanks, Craig. Okay, and then let's go to, the general fund real quick. This yellow sheet. Craig might be able to answer some of these. On the facilities, Craig, is there any that, we've got the grant for the generators, so that's in progress, basically.
Correct.
So the top line is, that'll happen this summer, right? Or- Okay, so that's in the 2027 budget. Grays River paving, let's just talk about that real quick. If we had this influx of funds into the general fund from the sale of Melvin, do we want to consider taking that on?
I'd like to consider taking it on,
No matter what?
Period.
Okay. That's an answer.
being that I live down that road, full disclosure.
I've been recommending it for a long time, too.
Yeah. So, The question is how we pay for it, obviously.
So that's attached to your packet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did we get any other banks? Or
No.
can we reach out to other banks?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Did we
Yep.
get more bids yet?
I have not. I have not.
We're,
And the reason why I haven't is because it takes so many man-hours to put a bid
Yeah.
package like this together. I don't really want to waste our time unless we've got an RFP out
Yeah.
for them.
Well, the first one took like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was a lot. There's a bunch of different entities that get involved and, you
And I
know.
guess I feel like we trust H&K.
What's that?
Isn't it through H&K, or H&K?
That's the first
HK.
bid that I got, that's who it was from. Yep, as a rough estimate.
But honestly, if, not that you're making any decisions right now, but if we told Craig we think it's likely that we would put this in the budget, then I would encourage him to go get a second bid now.
Right.
by law, he has to.
Yeah,
Well, right, but I'm just saying, right now, do we want him to start that process?
No, what process we're actually doing is we're trying to get prices from engineers on putting together an RFP, because there will be a cost for that.
When
Yep.
will we know that?
I talked to Sunrise this morning and I've talked to Kevin about it as well. Yep.
Yeah.
to get-
And so they're both working on the
Getting us a price to get an RFP.
RP.
So that you guys can consider that.
Okay.
Because when we redo this road, I think we would all agree we want to do it right. Like a bunch of those radiuses and stuff,
Yep.
they need to be a lot wider and stuff, and that's going to take surveying, and there's going to be a lot more to it than just taking out the asphalt.
I agree.
Yep. Yep.
The other one, to me, that's kind of high on the priority list is the land use development code redesign.
Did we get the 100,000
No, I wish.
donation?
I wish we,
Side, I don't think, I mean, unless we get a donation,
yeah.
And we never selected that 171 is the highest.
That we just took the highest bid.
Yeah.
We haven't
budget.
actually selected it come down.
Gina has put together another plan for paying for it, if you'd like to hear it.
I'd love to hear it.
Yep.
Thanks, Gina. Come on up.
Well, I printed these out. I assume that somebody can get already print them out for you guys if you want them.
Thanks, Gina. I haven't seen them.
I emailed it to Mayor and Martha, but I guess it didn't get distributed further than that.
Thank you, thank you.
So essentially,
If you want to take off, you're allowed.
you're like, I'm out.
You're, okay. Pass one
I
down.
know, you're like Warhol.
so the idea would be to take the funding up front out of the general fund and pay for the land use development code updates, and then propose a fee structure like an addition onto the fees to pay back that money. On top of that, I'd like to try to maybe create a line item for planning and zoning capital, expenditures for future, to where that is just a line item that we can have for things like future land use development code updates, contributions to master plan updates, future potential employees that are needed, things like that. Because, I mean, at some point, this can't be a department of one. So we're only growing. I mean, it said we're at 17% year over year, so.
What do you think the fee structure would go to?
So I did some, they're not perfect calculations, but from what I could calculate, that we could increase it by about 25% just across the board. I mean, that was just an across-the-board calculation. I think we'd like to make it a little more subtle than that. There, certain projects are paying a bigger percentage than a smaller project, and that with that, you should be, depending on, the type, how many permits we get within 3 years of a payback.
Because we have talked in the past that we want to do the update to the land use development code, but we also want to fund updates to the master plan every 5 years. And I
Yep.
would assume the land use development code would, we're always tinkering with it. Hopefully, we don't have to tinker with it too much.
Well, if we made that capital, a line item for planning and zoning, then that money's there. We're not playing catch-up. It's there for the future when things like this come up, and we're not waiting 20 years to try to fix things that probably should have been fixed 15 ago, so.
Yeah. Any questions for Gina on this?
Yeah, I'm just sad we didn't, people said they would donate.
Well,
They're gone.
By the
And
way,
I feel
that's-
like it's
That's not off
trend.
the table.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
That's for me. I think if I can see 100,000 in donation, but I still think, it's just, we're spending so much money on consulting. It's a lot of money.
Just that the donation still to come because they wouldn't make it now and we haven't made a decision or yet. I like this solution. I think it's a viable one.
All right, thanks.
I wonder if we could actually even, instead of just taking all the rates and increasing 25%, we add a fee, whatever it is. It's a $50 or, however much.
Right.
Instead of this kind of moving target, we know that with the number of permits we get in on a yearly basis.
That's a set fee.
Over 3 years, we're going to pay this off. We just say 50,000. What's the fee that we've got to charge to generate 50,000? Sounds like it's going to be a big number.
Well, and, when I say, 25% over 3 years, right, when you're looking at the growth, where you're going to get more permits in next year than you did this year, and potentially more permits the next year, essentially that percentage is declining of what is actually necessary to cover those funds. That's assuming no growth whatsoever and no increase in fees. I just assumed a zero increase in fees for permitting across those 3 years, so.
Yeah, I'm supportive of the project. I said it at, I can't remember which town council meeting.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see it go into its home in the budget, so.
Well, the problem is I don't feel like I have a home in the budget.
Yeah.
There's water, there's sewer, there's not LUDC, there's not planning and zoning. Like, I just don't feel like I have anywhere to take these from if it's not from the general fund. And so.
No, for sure. And I've been listening to planning and zoning meetings here the last couple months, learning about these other projects, and I'm just seeing repeatedly the arduous task you have. So, yeah, it needs to be, and it's seeing that it's also outside the scope of what the Planning and Zoning Commission can reasonably accomplish.
Right. I mean, this is a volunteer board that's already spending a significant amount of their time just to do the reviews that they're doing. So, the other advantage of having a consultant is you're taking a group of people with tons of knowledge, and they've got best practices across multiple towns, and the process is going to go faster for them than if I have to kind of go through and learn it though as I'm doing it, if that makes sense. Have planning and zoning board learn it as they're doing it.
We don't have another 15 years to get.
That's what it feels like it would take. It does feel like it would take me 15 years to do it. I will say that Monica might be able to tell me the exact entity, but both Monica and Melody both reached out for some grant help, and there was nothing there.
Nothing.
Talked to the Wyoming Business Council, they couldn't really find anything that fit there. It's not for lack of effort of trying to get this funded somewhere else, so.
Yeah. What I would like to see, this is just me, you guys don't have to go along with this, but I'd like to see we put in the budget for next fiscal year, and then we figure out how to get this $100,000 or whatever that's kind of been said, we'll get that, and then we don't spend that money until we get the 100,000, but, it's an opportunity to spend the money in next year's budget if we do.
Are you thinking like the buy-in of this person that's going to donate is going to be more sure if they say, yes, we've dedicated, we've allocated money to this
That's what I'm saying, exactly. If we say we're putting it in the budget, but we're really only going to spend that money if we get this grant, or this money, donation, whatever you call it, then it actually maybe becomes real at that point to them, because I think the pushback I've gotten is like, well, it doesn't seem like town council really wants to even take it on. So I think it would be a big step just to put it in the budget and say, okay, everybody, if you want us to do this, and 100,000 is kind of like the start of what I've asked for. There may be other developers that I haven't even talked to that would be willing to come forward and help, because it doesn't just benefit us, it benefits them, making this process more streamlined. So, any thoughts on that?
I think that sounds like a good path forward. I agree, this needs to be done, and I like, just.
Yeah, well, and the other piece of it too is that the master plan that we are getting is vastly different from the master plan that we had. And in order to get the regulatory piece of it to match up with the vision piece of it, it's going to be a major overhaul, no matter taking into account all of the little things that already need fixed, so.
Something else that isn't in the budget, based on our earlier meeting, is the annexation fees that if we annex that property. I don't know what that budget amount do, but this would be completely the appropriate use of those funds. Because we're going to need a land use development code to develop a property like that, to manage a
That's a
development.
good point.
So, and I just thought of it because as we were sitting here.
Sounds like they're willing to come in during the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
So,
that may be an option.
do you have any thoughts?
Probably the not popular thought. Definitely the more conservative thought. I totally agree with this. We need the land use development code. My main thought right now is we got a lot going on. We got a lot of maybes. We got a lot of needs. At least as far as the general fund goes, I'm more apt to not do any of these and just put it off past the general fund with extra, what do we have if we don't pass any of these, whatever our extra expenses, come back in the fall, once we have a better idea, did Melvin sell?
Yeah.
Did we annex in this other piece of property? That way, we're dealing with real
So you
numbers.
think adjusting the budget later?
Just,
instead of doing it now?
yeah,
Okay.
let's do it October. I just don't like dealing in maybes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
Yeah, I'm in the same. I think we're doing a lot of this wishful thinking on a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 100% there with you. It's just, I also like to have the purse right next to me
Well-
to say, bam, let's do it.
We do have money in the bank, in the general fund. I mean, we do. So,
I mean,
that's all. I mean, we're not banking on Melvin's money.
No, I know that,
Yeah.
but we are talking about, well, we could do this with it, we could do that with it.
Yeah. No, I hear you on
Just-
that.
I just think we could have a much better plan come fall when we know exactly what we're dealing with, and then we can just do just that, like, here's a check, bam, let's get an new LUDC, let's do this and let's do that, as opposed to approving it now, going, well, we do have money in the bank, not a lot of money, but it can pay for it, but if something else comes up, and we do need that,
Okay, just to make sure we're on the same page, we have $2.5 million in the
Right,
bank.
right.
Yes.
And I-
To the general fund.
Yeah,
And we're going
For
to
the
end this
general-
year with a $194,000 surplus
surplus, right. To me, that's
in
not
the
a lot.
general fund. No, but.
To me, that's not a lot.
Not with our loan amounts
No.
and everything.
No, again, this is the general fund.
Right. And
that we're
that's all I'm
talking.
speaking to,
Yeah,
is the general
yeah,
fund.
because it's easy to get those things convoluted
Right.
between the funds.
No,
So
that's-
this fund has $2.4 million in the bank,
Yep.
and we're going to end this year with almost $200,000 surplus. Again, that's a conservative number. It's more likely to be more than that.
Yeah, no, and I.
So
and I
I'm just
totally
going to throw
agree.
this out here. I mean, this is,
Please.
for example, we passed the new land use development, or not land use development code, the new master plan, and as part of all of my annexations, subdivisions, PUDs, all that stuff, I'm tasked with reporting and analyzing against that master plan certain things. And so now I'm going to end up in this weird realm where the master plan says I can, and I have to evaluate it against that, but my land use regulations does not allow it. So then I have like this weird,
I think you
But
just pointed to the
regardless-
fact. Oh,
Sorry.
it's all right, you go.
I was just going to say, regardless, even if we put out to do an LUDC company, they wouldn't be done for another 12 to 16 months.
no, they wouldn't, but Keist and Kendig Keist has actually made a proposition, and they have done this with other companies, where they pass a resolution where they actually take over the
Management.
management of the, evaluating these permits and development projects in the interim while they're updating the master plan. And that's, and again, like a flat fee sort of thing. They just, on application, they do it per application sort of thing. And so this is an issue, and they've dealt with it in other areas doing just that, so.
I think it's also pointing to the fact that, like, we just said out loud that all these annexations are probably ahead of their time because we aren't prepared for them. And so, I don't know, I'm just going to say this on the record. I think that's what I think we're starting to see is, it's annexation. Water has, I mean, not you guys, you're doing awesome. But it's like, sewer needs this, water needs this. And yes, let's just keep piling it on.
And I'll say it for the record, the way to pay for that stuff is to have new users. You need to increase revenue.
But it's not real revenue.
It is. When you bring on users, it's real revenue. And this is
It will
something
take 10 years.
that you don't know that. This is something that literally,
I know.
you and Emily said this stuff, that, you want to cut the budgets and save our way out of our problems.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, you cannot do that.
Well, Alpine Meadows is the exact example. I know we keep saying we're going to get a grant. We just uncovered
Okay,
a
but
$500,000 issue from an annexation.
Let me make sure, I'm going to put this on the record as well, so everyone knows. If we don't grow, who bears the onus for paying for all the maintenance on all the infrastructure that has to be upkept over the next 30 years?
I mean, all the businesses and the people?
The people that are currently here, right?
Yeah, but you're not, you're doing this like, oh, it's a $1.5 million credit on this annexation, so we lose that much money, and I'm sorry, $450 per residential?
I think you're mixing things up here. My point is, you're not going to save your way out of the problem.
But see, the problem is, we jump so far ahead, we have, like, as Colby said, a treatment plant that isn't working is costing 3 times what he thought it should cost.
So how are we going to fix that?
How are we going to fix it?
We're going to fix it by bringing on more users.
I mean, I don't see the same, but
We're going to have to
we can all
disagree
agree.
on that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I can finish, at 4 o'clock, we have another meeting
Yep.
coming up. I don't want to set you up for success, or for failure, that's not my intention.
That is the
As far as the one not agreeing with the other, that's something that I think we'll have to deal with immediately regardless if we hired somebody. And I would say this council can deal with that. So as soon as you know, like, hey, the LUDC says this, but it contradicts this.
I don't know if it's comprehended how much work it is to do it piecemeal like that.
Right.
It's a lot of time consuming to do it piecemeal like that, and then we run into exactly the same problems we're in now, where things are not being cohesive, they're not working with each other, we're getting conflicts. To me, that just makes a bigger problem than the problem we already have.
I think we all hear you.
Yeah.
And
Well, and then this is just something last thing, like, I'm looking at this as like, I'm talking $175,000, and I know it's a lot of money, but it's kind of a drop in the bucket of a lot of these other projects that are going on. So I would like to believe that we can make growth of Alpine and responsible growth and whatever a priority for the town. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you, Gina.
Monica, clarifying question. You said, so the end of this fiscal budget, approximately a $200,000 surplus.
Currently.
in general.
In the general fund.
Additionally, on first reading of the budget, the general fund also was showing $200,000 or $250,000 surplus on first reading. Correct?
She hasn't added
Yeah,
yet.
because we didn't add in the capital.
Yes, on first reading. So that's where that's kind of my point, is we have maybe up to $400,000 to work with if we so choose.
We have 200 at this point. That's what I'm estimating it to be.
This number
Of
right
course,
here.
he's done some of the projects that were originally in the capital budget, so it's probably, some of those bills have been paid.
Okay.
So,
This number, this is the number we're working with. If you wanted a balanced budget and you wanted to put the land use development code in there for 171, you're in the black still.
Yes.
yeah, and then water is also
Well, no, I'm
currently,
sorry. It would be this
less.
for next year's,
Yeah.
but you're close.
water is also currently showed to end in a $64,000 surplus. Sewer, while it's going to end in the negative, it was budgeted to end in the negative. Going into the fiscal year, we had budgeted a $1 million negative balance, and we are looking to close it out at about negative 600,000. So it's 400,000 positive to the budget, but that, again, was the $1 million we borrowed in the previous fiscal year that we spent in this fiscal year. That was that being off, so.
And then if we, oh, sorry.
Say it real quick.
If we want to add anything to the general, like Lucky's or the senior center, do we?
Senior center is in there?
I know, but like, can we get to 10,000 for them? What do we give them? Like, I think the thing for me is in these trying times, financially, like, I'd really like to see stuff that goes back to community as well. So I wasn't sure if we can up the senior center, discuss the Lucky's, not right now.
Yeah.
We can
So
do it again, but I just wanted to.
I have budgeted exactly what they asked
Okay.
from
but I-
us at the Thames Senior Center,
Okay.
which is to cover the full cost of the meals weekly at Yankee Doodles. And if you guys want me to, I feel like it's like 6,000 or 7,000.
Yeah.
I'd like to get, I mean, I'd like to offer more if
Yeah.
we need it for our seniors.
Yeah.
And then I think Lucky's coming back online is a huge part of our community. So, thank you.
I would love to find a way to have all the communities have a dog catcher. And
That would
But that
be
doesn't
huge.
help them run the shelter.
Well,
That's the
but
problem.
it's difficult for me to justify giving Lucky's money when we don't have a dog catcher. If we had a
Well,
dog
that's the
catcher, it makes a lot
semantics of government. That's how I see it, but
Well, it's pretty black and white. If they're not providing a service to
they
us.
are providing a
In
service.
a roundabout way, yeah. But
Yes.
what the senior center is doing is we're paying for meals. You could go to the senior center,
I know.
to Yankee Doodle or whatever on their day, and you could see the direct effect of us giving them that money. Where it's really difficult for us to go to Lucky's and see the effect that our money would make. That's my point.
I know.
So if, it seems like you're really passionate about it, what I recommend is get together with all the different communities and see if we can come up with something that would benefit all of Star Valley, and
Yeah.
then we could have that conversation, in my opinion.
I've already scheduled the meetings.
Okay.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
Mr. Mayor, one quick review on the sewer capital requests.
Yeah.
So we have ultraviolet disinfectant system as number one high priority. Kubota membrane, train number two is number two priority. At least need to set money aside for this year. And then the screw press, we're going to spend that in '26.
Yep,
Is that correct?
the backups.
Okay, I have that.
Okay.
So
And are you
what-
doing your truck?
What ones are actually getting budgeted for in next fiscal year
I'm
for
sorry?
sewer?
I think we need to do the ultraviolet for this year or next year? What did you say?
In '27,
So the ultraviolet in '27.
okay.
You said the lift station.
And what about the
Grants,
others?
Right? We already have the grant for that.
Oh,
so
yeah,
that needs to be done.
those,
That's not a grant.
Oh, is that,
Top one?
oh,
No, we didn't even discuss that.
So
Oh, okay.
this
Sorry.
one and then this one. Okay.
do we need more clarification on the sewer?
Okay.
She's got it now.
Oh, she
I've got it.
Do you have the water? There was only one,
Yeah, and then I don't think I understand what we picked in general either.
nothing in general.
So we have to do the grant.
The top line.
The top
civic center
line.
Generator installation is already in progress.
And so we're not budgeting anything for paving and, at all.
Not yet.
Not yet.
But, okay.
and we need the,
And then we're not budgeting anything for a truck with okay.
you're pushing it off? Okay.
$45,000 in this grant.
With the idea is to revisit it come October, maybe September, just whenever we know more with Melvin.
Yeah, so just to be completely transparent, if we revisit the paving, and I'm fine with that, we revisit in October, then what we will do is have to budget for actually getting somebody to work up the RFPs, and we can probably expect it to be done maybe late, is that right? 27 is, so late in fiscal year 27, which would be June.
Yeah, if we start in October,
So,
that would be
if we-
next.
Right.
What?
Okay.
Why don't we we need to look at the bid for getting the RFP together, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then they can get that together, and then we will
Because that
know
could
the-
shift the
So
timing.
then if we,
Okay.
let's just say, something happens with Melvin, and we know August 1st that that's possible,
Right.
then we could actually maybe get on the schedule for next fall.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, then we'll continue to work on the RFP.
Okay, that's all we've got. I'll
get
take a
Sarah.
motion for adjournment.
I'll get Sarah.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Did we just adjourn?
Second. We've adjourned. Thank you.
Where are we meeting next? Right here?